kukaribisha kwenye kipindi cha watoto Kids Connect kila siku ya Jumamosi saa 12 asubuhi hadi saa 4 asubuhi.
Radio Mshindi 104.0 FM, nyumbani kwa washindi.
Yes, know your law. This is it. And we are here finally. We are on set and we are ready to take us through. Yes, we are ready to take us through the whole process of business and corporate affairs. Now, we know that here especially in Nairobi, because I have been in Nairobi and we've encountered it a much less number of times, where you'd start a business and after a while you'll close it down because of some rogue officers who will come and demand for a shilling or two from you in the name of a certain license that you don't have, a certain requirement that you don't meet by the government or by the state or by the county government or central government or whatever it is. So we want to tackle that. We want to know exactly what is needed and what is not needed, how much should be paid and to whom not to give any amount of cash and why. And also, we might want to know some of the businesses that we are having, how we should close down and why we should close them down. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Christopher Oyer, who will introduce himself more than just an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. He'll tell us in which firm he serves and etc. etc. Welcome very much, Wakili.
Thank you very much, Consolata. My name is Christopher Oyer. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, practicing with the law firm of MK and Company Advocates, where I'm a partner. I'm also a certified secretary, and I practice a lot in the business and commercial field. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope to have a very wonderful engagement with the viewers today.
Yeah, thank you very much, and indeed it is also a pleasure for us. So tell me, just to start things, what exactly am I required to have before I can start a business, before I can go ahead and say I am a business owner? What is required of me?
Well, the decision to start a business is an individual decision, and the key thing for any individual or entity that wants to start a business is to come up with a proper business plan where you assess the market and the kind of goods or services that you think you can supply to that particular market. And based on your assessment of the area you want to go into, you then move forward to decide which is the most appropriate form to use to deliver your business. And of course that is informed by the country in which you're operating in, and even county, now that we have 2 levels of government. In Kenya we have various laws that help guide people on the various forms of businesses. And for depending on the scale of your investment, you may opt for the various forms and also the kind of management you want to retain in the company, and how you want to raise capital for your business. So the main forms that people prefer to use are one is sole proprietorships, where the individual is the sole owner of the business and retains all commercial decisions of the business. And of course there's a quick decision making with this form of business, and you're able to move and decide on a number of things about operations on your own without consulting people. It's pretty easy to incorporate, that's to set up under our laws. So the registration for that is under the Business Names Act. You just propose the names you want to use for your business and you register it. You can use your name or you come up with another name within the guidelines we have in the law. Then the other common form of businesses is partnerships, of which we have various types. We have partnerships that are general in nature, and we have some partnerships that we call limited partnerships. And the third category is what we call limited liability partnerships. The last two categories are a bit advanced in the kind of advantages they give someone who wants to do the business. And the key advantage of having partnerships in general as a business form is the tax advantage that it gives someone. So compared to companies, which is the next form I'm going to talk about, partnerships give the parties, the partners, some reprieve in terms of tax, because the way they are taxed is different. They're taxed. They're called tax transparent vehicles because the income of the business is not taxed at the corporate level, but it's taxed at the level of the partners, which means that unlike companies which have to pay tax on whatever income they generate at the corporate level first, for partnerships you only pay tax at the partner level. So that's a big advantage that people can choose, can make people choose partnerships. Then the other most common form is of course companies, which in Kenya are governed by the Companies Act 2015. Companies are of various kinds and their requirements differ. So based on your assessed needs as a business person, you may either opt for a private company, whether limited by shares or limited by guarantee, or you opt to mobilize yourselves in a public company, depending on the objectives you want to pursue. Now, companies are the most common, private limited companies, Private limited companies, that's limited by shares, are the most common form of business that people use for most of their investment needs, whether at small scale level or large scale. And all the registrations for these kinds of business are undertaken currently online on the Business Registration Services portal, which is available on eCitizen. So it's very easy for any individual just to get the information required and register their business in any of those forms. And the requirements are pretty similar, because the key thing you need to provide as a person intending to set up the business is the name. So whether it's a partnership, a sole proprietorship, or the company, which name do you want to trade using? So the name has to meet some requirements. It should not be similar to existing names, or it should not be offensive. So there are regulations around that. So you choose the name, you provide the proposed address where you want to do your business, and you provide details of how you want to capitalize your business, which means how you want to bring money into the business. So for companies, there's you have to say this is the share capital we want the company to have. And then the management, who is going to manage your business. So for partnerships, who is going to be the managing partner for your entity, and for companies, who are going to be the initial directors, and if you need a secretary, who is going to be the initial secretary for your company. So once you comply with these requirements, you pay the required fees, and then you get your certificate of registration for the kind of business you have chosen. Okay. And of course, the advantages, as I've may have hinted, for companies, the key advantage you get is limited liability. So as a business person, you are separated from the entity that you have created. So if the entity incurs debt, your liability to contribute to the debt of the company is limited to the amount of share capital that you have designated.
Yes.
So that's a key advantage of companies. For partnerships, I've mentioned the tax issue. For sole proprietorship, the key advantage is the ease of decision making, although now the issue of liability is tied to the person. So you assume all the business risks and liability, which is a disadvantage in that aspect. Yeah.
Compared to the others.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's extensive. Now, when you come to the sole propriety, especially with the naming, what happens if I'm naming, for example, my company based on my name Chibalonza, right? There was a Chibalonza who he is known, is famous. Let's say she also had started a business by the name of Chibalonza, and I have started a business by the name of Chibalonza. What happens, or what does the law provide that will ensure that our names don't collide in interests?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the guidelines for the kind of names you can use for your business. So the key thing to note is that the name must not be similar to an existing name. So if someone has already incorporated their business with a name that's similar to the one you're proposing, your name will be rejected. So the business registration service will tell you, choose another name.
Yeah, okay.
Or in other cases, if the name is morally offensive, or even if it suggests that you are affiliated to the government or a department, and yet you are an individual, they will reject the name. So the guidelines allow them to reject certain names if they don't meet the parameters set out, and then you are required to propose a different name.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's get to the point of the point of the matter that brought out this conversation. The kanjos, when they come to pick whatever money it is they're coming to pick from the shops, from Mama Mboga, from quote unquote, using our president's slogan, from the hustler, is it legal amani ya kunyamazisha tu to just let time pass by, or should we be doing that? And under what is the license that we don't have that is making or is pushing us to pay such amounts?
It's quite unfortunate when such things happen, especially in the CBD or other towns in Kenya. As a business person, once you have complied with your requirements under the law in terms of the business you want to do, so you have the appropriate license and registration. So registration from the business registration service and license from the county government, which in Nairobi they use the unified business permit, which includes a lot of licenses in one permit. Once you have that and you have paid to it up to date, then the kanjos have no business harassing you at your place of work. But we recognize the challenge that most people have not registered their business. They go and operate in the streets. They go buy goods from the suppliers, and then they go to the streets and parade their goods there. Of course, if they do not have authorization, and I think the county government of Nairobi has tried to control this, maybe by designating how hawking is done in the city, in the CBD. But as long as you do not have a license or permission from the county government to operate your business there, to sell your goods in whichever place, they are justified in doing that. Now, that does not mean that I support the way they do it. Of course, it's quite unfortunate. You find some very helpless people with, I don't know if the value of goods, but it's their livelihood. Kanjos harass them and steal their goods and confiscate sometimes their goods. The method of ensuring compliance that they adopt is very punitive in my view. And that is an issue that has to be addressed by the county government itself, whether if they need to train people, their people on how to carry out their enforcement. But as for the hawker, you need to comply with whatever the county government is saying. If not, then you are in breach of the law. Yes.
And let's get to the shops. What licenses must one have before they even start operating. There are licenses that are, I see them placing them on walls. Other people have gone to the extent of even framing such licenses. What are these licenses? And if you know the prices, please share them with us.
Yes, so the key licenses, so first of all, you need to have registration, as I've mentioned, to enable you to apply for the license. So once you get registration, which is from the national government, Department of, under the BRS services, you move to the county government to apply for the license, depending on your area of business. So if you're in the hotel industry, for example, you'll need different licenses compared to someone who's selling clothes or someone who's selling mobile phones. So the things that they have sort of decentralized these services. You don't have to go to City Hall as was the case before. So there are sub-counties with the county offices where individuals can go, and you specify the nature of your business, and they tell you which license you're supposed to get from the county government. And I think it's a similar approach in all counties. So they determine all the licenses that they're able to give in accordance with their mandate under the Constitution, under the 4th schedule. So there are areas which they regulate, like entertainment, liquor licensing, and pre-primary education, and various areas which is within their mandate as county governments. Now, depending on your business area, you will be advised on the kind of licenses which you need to get from the county government. So it's not uniform for all businesses. But the common licenses that you will need from county government relate mostly to the premises where you are operating. So is the premise in good condition to support the kind of business that you're doing? If you're in the hotel industry, you have to get authorizations for food handling from the county government. So they come and they need to come and inspect the premises and give you the go-ahead to get the license, and so on for all the other sectors. So it depends on the business you're doing. And for the county government, I think of Nairobi, what they have done, which is good, is to, once you make the application, they tell you the permit, all the permits, then you get a unified business permit in containing all the licenses, so you're able to operate without having to go back and forth on different engagements.
Is there a legal jurisdiction that allows or permits the kanjo or policeman to come and beckon or knock or ask for cash from business people?
No, I wouldn't think there's anything like that. Because that's an illegality. It starts from our enforcement culture, which the county government has perpetrated. So you find that kanjos and the officers they send, they want to try to squeeze you to remove money. Whether or not you are compliant with your licenses, so they always try to see and find a fault. They cite some compliance requirement which they certainly know you're not aware of, and they extort you. That's extortion, bottom line. And if such a thing happens, the legal thing to do is to report such officers. But the reality is that you want convenience for your business. So do you want to weigh the inconvenience of not having to pay or the money these guys are asking on a very small issue, or being shut out of your business for 1 day or 2 days as you try to sort this the legal way? Now that's the challenge, because the systems they have are not very transparent. So most traders, unfortunately, succumb to the extortion, and but it's legal. It's nowhere in the law that they're allowed to do that.
Meaning, if I pay them, I am also participating in the illegality, and the one asking is also participating in the illegality.
Yes, both of you are participating in illegality. Yes.
All right. So back to the Kanjo and the police issue that has seen many businesses suffer losses and all. What happens what should be the procedure like if somebody from the city council or the county government right now, if they walk into your stall and they find something missing, what should be the step taken? Should they report you? Should they give you a warning? Should they shut your shop down? Should they throw your goods out? What should be the process like?
Okay, I know they have their own procedures for conducting their enforcement activities, but with regard to standards of due process, when they come to your premises and find you are not compliant in one way or another, they need to give you a written notice to tell you, look, you're running this business, you do not have this license, or you have not complied in this manner. Unless it's an emergency, they should give you time to comply. So if it's an non-compliance arising out of your failure to pay some fees to the county government, you're given time to pay. Or if you need to get something right in the premises where you're operating from, you need to be given time to put that in place. Now, if in case of emergency, of course, I'm sure the procedures allow them to, for example, if you're selling food that is contaminated that's discovered, they'll have to take urgent measures to shut the business until you comply with the standards needed under the law. So they need to give you notice, time to comply. If you fail to comply, then now they enforce. Either they close the business or your permit is revoked. So that's the procedure I think they should follow.
So in case I'm at home, I'm looking at, or I'm listening to you right now, and I have a business, and I'm not sure of what is, well, I'm not sure whether I'm compliant or not. Where should I go to? Whom should I talk to?
So a good starting place is to talk to a lawyer who will help you understand your business needs in terms of complying with the law. So in whichever county you're operating in, it's good to talk to a lawyer if you're able to access legal services. They will guide you. Okay, for this kind of business, these are the licenses that you need from the national government, from the county government, and this is a procedure of getting them. And of course, our government has tried a lot to provide its services to citizens through eCitizen. So a lot of government services are also online and in the Huduma centers. So someone can also use these avenues to get information on what they need to do. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we sadly my time is almost up, but lastly, what insights or advice or word do you have to share with our viewers at home?
Okay, so for business and corporate compliance, if I can use the terms, you need to understand the market you're operating in and the county. For example, if it's investment in Kenya, they have different compliance requirements. You have to understand what you need to do with the national government, what you need to do with the county government. And once you understand those legal requirements, it's important for you as a business person to avoid risks and exposure to a lot of legal issues. It's important to comply. Get your documents in order, get your licenses in order, pay those permit fees with the county government, set up your business legally. You avoid a lot of problems with these enforcement guys. And of course, it also enables your business to easily access capital. If you are compliant with your legal requirements, you're able to get loans from banks and raising capital in other ways. So it's important to ensure that your business complies with all the legal requirements. Where you need guidance or support, it's good to get a lawyer to guide you on the processes.
Okay, thank you very much. And maybe before we go, something that somebody is asking, many people don't go through the compliance processes because they feel they end up paying a lot of money, especially to the Kenya Revenue Authorities, as compared to that Kanjo guy who will just come and ask for 50 shillings and go his way and will come again next week. You know, so comparing what they have to pay to KRA and what they have to pay to Kanjo, they feel it is better to just give out the kidogo kidogo. What would you say to such a person?
Yeah, so it's a choice which, of course, people have to survive. It's they make the choice at the heat of the moment when they're faced with an issue. But if you seriously want to run a sustainable business, it's important that you have in place all the paperwork you need to run the business. So the issue of KRA, tax is a major issue in the country. All citizens currently acknowledge that. There are a lot of challenges with tax, government proposing a number of taxes, and there are varied feedback on whether the taxes are appropriate. Are they incentivizing business, or are they making doing business harder for people in Kenya? Now, if you register your business and you want it to be compliant, you have to pay your taxes for that kind of business. And just allow me to mention the usual types of taxes that businesses have to pay. Depending on the structure, for both for companies, which is the most common form of business that people, entity that people use for business, you have to pay corporate tax. So the income that you earn in a given financial year is subjected to tax, which you have to remit to KRA. There's no way out of that because they have a mandate. They can track you down as long as you registered and ensure that you pay the tax. So that's an issue that citizens have an obligation to pay tax. If the tax environment is too heavy that it makes businesses try to avoid complying by not registering, then that's something the government needs to address. So what kind of environment are we creating by our tax regime? If it's making people try to avoid the mainstream compliance issues and try to resort to doing business outside the formal registration, then it means that our tax regime needs to be relooked, and the government needs to consider incentives to make people pay whichever tax from and whichever level. So that's a policy issue, and currently tax issues are very emotive in Kenya.
All right, thank you very much. That's all the time we had for you today, and as you've heard, yes, there could be a number or two of rogue officers, either representing the city councils or the county governments or the police officers. Yes, there could be one or two rogue officers, but that doesn't mean you have to escape paying your dues. Pay your dues, be on the right with the law, and the next time they come, just tell them to explain to you exactly why they're there. If they can't explain that, call a lawyer. Call a lawyer. Make sure at the end of the day, you know your law. My name is Consolata Chibalonza. Thank you very much for keeping me company. This has been an amazing session, interacting with advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Mr. Awawakili Christopher Oyer. I do hope you've learned, and I hope you're going to be compliant in your businesses. For those who want to start, for those who are already running, for those who want to continue or expand either from a business, from a type of a business, maybe to a company or maybe to partnerships. He has said it all. Please make sure you are compliant. And until next time, God bless.